Welcome to this Arnall-Culliford knitwear tutorial. Today's video is all about tinking your knitting. Tinking means to unknit because T-I-N-K are the letters of knit spelt backwards. This is part of our Something New to Learn About Lace series, and you can find out more about the book and about the beautiful projects that you can find within the book over on our website acknitwear.co.uk. I've come to the end of row 5 of this myrtle lace stitch pattern, and I'm just going to check through my knitting and make sure I haven't made any errors. So between each of the sets of stitch markers I should have 10 stitches, and these decrease lines ought to be smoothly going in the same direction. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That line of decreases is leaning that way, that's fine, and so is the other one, so that section's fine. On to the next one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Again, we've got the right number of stitches, and our decreases are going in the right direction, apart from that one there, which is a few rows back. So we can mark it up with a stitch marker and decide in a minute whether we want to do anything about it or not. Oops. Into the next section. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So chances are I'm missing a yarn over, so I've got my knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, and then there should be another yarn over. You can see the pairs either side of that central stitch, but this next one, that's not a yarn over because you can see the purl bump at the base of it. Here's a yarn over, it has nothing at the base. So just in there, move it onto the cable to make it easier to put the stitch marker in. Just in here we should have a yarn over. So that's missing. And then if we check the line of decreases there is correct. Oh, but there's a whoopsie in this one as well. So here we've got the decreases are leaning as they should towards the left, but the one at the top that I've just worked is a knit 2 together, and it should be an SSK. So we're going to put another stitch marker in that. These locking stitch markers are great, allowing you to add things onto your knitting, and I've actually put it right through the stitch where the problem is. And then the last section, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, it's the right number of stitches. The decreases are all going the correct way there and on the other side, so really it's just here where I've got the problems. Depending on how you feel about this, you could take back 3 rows and correct it, or you could decide that actually it's inconspicuous enough not to worry about it. It's really a personal taste thing. But these 2 errors up here are on the current row, and so therefore they're quite easy to go back and correct. And we're going to do that by tinking the stitches. So when I'm tinking, I always want to be working back with the stitches, with the needles held how they would have been when I was going in the forward direction. So you follow the line of the working yarn. Your needle tip always points towards the ball of wool. So here's my ball of wool on the end of there, and the needle tip has gone through the stitch at the base in the same direction as that working yarn. You then slip the stitch off the right needle and pull the working yarn back out of it, so that stitch is now unknitted. Now this next stitch on the needle is an SSK decrease. SSKs are worked through the back loop, and so this time instead of going into the needle from the front, if you do that, you will find that your stitches are going to be twisted. They'll be in the wrong order on your needles. So stitches that are worked through the back loop, you have to go from back to front. Okay, so you're going in the opposite direction to the working yarn. So through the back loop you go back to front. Okay, now that I've unknitted them, they are on the needle in the right order, but because I slipped the first one knitwise, it's sitting the wrong way round, and we need to untwist it so that the right hand leg sits at the front of your needle as normal. If you knit Eastern style or a combination knitter, then your stitches may well normally be mounted the other way round, but that is something that you should already be aware about with your knitting. To unknit the next one is a knit, so I'm just going through the stitch at the base in the same direction so that my tip points at the working yarn. Slip it off and pull the wool out, and the next one's the same. And then this is a yarn over. There's no actual stitch to catch for a yarn over because you just wrapped the wool around, so you can just unwrap it and it's undone. And then we're unknitting the next one, and again untwisting from the yarn over, unknitting and unknitting. And then this next stitch was a knit two together decrease, and that's worked normally. So again, on a knit two together, you've got to put the needle through both of the stitches that were worked together, again so that your needle's pointing at the working yarn. You can check for a knit two together, they should already be sitting on the needles the right way round. And we're going to slip the stitch marker and unknit the next knit stitch, and then we've come to our stitch that is marked with the locking stitch marker because this is the one that was wrong. So we're going to undo it, and it's been worked as a knit two together, so it just unknits the normal way. And then you can unknit the knit, unknit the next knit, and then here we are where we should have worked a yarn over. So when it's only a small number of stitches like that, it is easiest just to tink back and undo them, and you can then re-knit them to the end of the row, hopefully this time without making any mistakes. So this is now an SSK decrease, not a knit two together. Knit two, yarn over, knit one, that's now lining up, yarn over, knit two, SSK, knit one. And those mistakes have all been fixed. When you're tinking a stitch, you're working it backwards. So if you're not sure how to tink the stitch, one of the easiest things to do is to work it and stop and think slowly about what you've done so that you can work it in reverse. So let me just demonstrate that. If I undo the last two stitches. Okay, so imagine that you were not sure about how to undo an SSK. You could do an SSK, but don't pull the left needle tip out of the stitch at the end, and you can then see how you need to poke it through in order to unknit it. So I've done the stitch, slipped it, pulled it through, but not slipped the stitches off the left needle, because that allows me to look at it and think, okay, yes, so for an SSK, the needle tip has to come from back to front through both of the stitches at the base in order to undo it. I hope that's got you started with undoing your stitches, and also, of course, that you won't need to undo too many in your knitting. Thank you for watching our video all about tinking your stitches. I hope that it will give you some confidence if you need to undo a mistake in your lace knitting. To find out more about something new to learn about lace and any of our other books or tutorials, do visit our website acknitwear.co.uk. Thanks for watching.